much, man. Nikolai, thank you so much for the introduction, for setting this all up. Uh, and hi, everyone. My name is Isaac, and I'm very happy to be here. It's about 3 a.m. here in Vancouver, so apologies for my lateness. I just got up, got everything ready, and headed in. Um, and I'll be talking to you a bit about Pacific Link College and everything to do with sending students to here, to Vancouver, to Pacific Link. There's a lot to go through, and I'm going to take my time because I do believe I have a little bit of time. But I've structured my presentation in a way where I think agents will get the most amount of benefit from it. I've done these presentations with Net24 a couple times. They've been really so good in terms of the structure of them and putting them together. So I've also learned what to kind of focus on in these. So over the next little bit, I'll be telling you about why you as an agent should choose PLC, the benefits for you and also for students. I'll tell you a bit about programs and also about our pathways, because one really important thing for many parts of the world is the PGWP. We as a private college, we don't have it ourselves, but we have the most affordable pathway to PGWP in Canada, the postgraduate work permit. And I'll be talking about study permits towards the end of the presentation as well. And that basically is probably the most important part. So I'll make sure I spend some time on that particular segment. I'm looking forward to your questions as well. People usually have some really good questions. And I'm trying to make sure I cover as many of those questions in this presentation as possible from what I've learned over the past little bit. So as a quick introduction to us, PLC, we started in 2011. And in 2017, we became a career college and offered career programs. So what I mean by career programs are centered on helping people, students, come to Canada and join the workforce. So unlike an academic college, where the concentration is on getting you academically prepared, in the arts, in the social services section, or in any other sector. Our concentration is on finding the most important places in Canada where people are looking for workers, for people to work that particular sector where there's a demand for a workforce, and preparing people so that they can join that workforce. For a lot of colleges in Canada that do this, that are career colleges, they concentrate on domestic students. But our specialization is international students. 95% of our students are international. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our student body. And because they're 95% international, we've become very good at what we do. So when we started our career programs, we started with a cohort in 2017 of 100 students. And right now we're looking at about 1,000 students per year. So we grew very quickly, and we've basically become the fastest growing college in Canada. And the reason we were able to do that is we really focused on career preparedness. We offer programs that have co-op components, and the co-op is a paid internship in that sector. So if a student is going to hospitality, we make sure that they get a paid internship in hospitality so that they're ready to go. Same thing for business, same thing for IT. And that's what really helps a student a lot. More than anything in Canada, the most important aspect of a student that an employer looks at is the fact that they've done that particular job before. So it becomes easy to get a job there. It becomes easy to stay on. A lot of our students are interested in staying, working, and living in Canada. And that's why this part is really important for everyone. So that's a quick introduction to us, our growth and everything like that. The other thing too, I'll talk about a little bit towards the end, is we've grown in a lot of countries because of this. We started with a heavy concentration in South Asia, but now we've got a presence going from West Africa to now East Africa as well. I'm really happy to say we've had our first students arrive from Zambia and Ethiopia. We've had our first student from Tanzania arrive end of last year. And also our first student from Madagascar got his visa and will be arriving in September. So a lot of stuff happening in East Africa, but we've also got a lot of concentrated in West Africa. So a lot of students from Nigeria, especially, but also Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, as well as a lot going on for us in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and also Latin America. And I'll tell you about all of that in detail in a little bit as well. But very importantly, the main question I think a lot of people will have is, why should you choose PLC? Why should agents, and why would the students that come to the agents choose PLC? What makes us different from other schools? And the main thing really is the co-op and the work. When a student comes to us, we have co-op, but what we do is from the very moment they arrive in Canada, and actually even before they arrive in Canada, we start helping the student in terms of finding work. We've switched from helping just for the co-op to getting the student ready to apply for a part-time job even before they come to Canada. The reason is, the more experience the student has in the sector, the better chances it is that they can actually get employment in that sector. One thing you should know about employment here in Canada is the demand from employers is huge. It's been huge since around the end of last year. And for the next year and a half, it's going to be really amazing. We have employers coming to us really needing people, especially for hospitality, but also for IT, and also for our early childhood program. What this means is that we're putting students into those sectors even before they start the co-op, but especially when they start the co-op. And they're getting offers from the employers to continue with them. And the employers are willing to give the labor market impact assessment and actually sponsor the students. And we've seen this from the get-go from 2017, but we're especially seeing it now because of the shortage of people in sectors. And so the work is really just as a critical component, helping students get part-time work and also full-time work as part of their paid co-op. Their paid internship is a key part of PLC. It's what really helped launch us. It's what's continuing to make us really popular. So as I said, rather than just concentrating on helping students when they start the co-op, we've started actually getting students into interviewing with employers and everything even before they come to Canada if they want. It can be after they come, it can be whenever, but we are ready to help them from the get-go. And this has helped a lot in terms of our growth and setting us aside from the other co-op schools that are out there. And because, my second point, because we concentrate so much on work, our classes are just 2.5 days a week. Because they're just 2.5 days a week, students have a lot of time so that they can work. It gives them the rest of the entire week. They love it. They get lots of time for part-time work as well as for their social lives, to do homework and all that kind of stuff. It's really manageable that way. We also give students the option for weekend classes, because that way they have the weekdays to work. Usually employers want employees on weekdays, and this works out super well for them. We also have a unique model of monthly intakes or rolling intake. So we can accept students every single month. So we have students, rather than just joining in January and September, we have students every single month. This month was particularly good. May, we had 35 students join us this month. And we usually see something around that every month. Of course, September and January are the biggest months in which people do come in. You'll find that our requirements are very simple. We basically just ask for proof of graduation, proof of ID, which is the passport copy, our application form, the agency sheet, cover sheet, which we just give to the agents. And finally, just proof of English. Super simple requirements are students that come in find that really easy to fulfill. Because a lot of people don't want to do IELTS or TOEFL and things like that, we also have a free online language assessment test. Now, when it comes to visas and things like that, I'll tell you about the need for IELTS depending on where in the world students are coming from. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But for students that do want it, we have a free online language assessment, and they love it because we get the results within about 1 business day, and we can accept them very quickly in that sense as well. So moving on from there to our programs, the most important part of things. As I said, we concentrate on sectors that have a lot of demand for personnel, for staff. And because of that, we actually don't have a lot of programs. We don't, sometimes I talk to students and they go, hey, do you have a program in petrochemical engineering and things like that? And honestly, we don't start in sectors such as that, simply because the employment isn't quite there. And so where we concentrate on is where there are a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs means it's very easy to place students. Students get placed, they're happy, agents are happy, everyone's happy, things are going really well. And so we break our programs down into 2 and 1 year programs. Now, for what I've found for a lot of Africa is that it's almost impossible to get visas for 1 year programs. We've had a few people try, it hasn't worked out. What visas do come for is 2 year programs. And so I'm going to concentrate mostly on them, and also mention the 1 year programs for those of you who do have students coming from places in the world where you can get visas for 1 year programs. Where I found those to be from is students very easily get them from places like Philippines, Thailand, South Korea, and Japan. We have a lot of students coming from those places with 1 year visas, as well as Turkey and Europe. So places like that, easy. Latin America, very easy to get visas for these. Other places, not so easy. 2 year programs, very simple, much easier. So in terms of the 2 year programs, what we have first is the Business Hospitality Management Advanced Diploma. That is our most popular program for a number of reasons. But the main reason is that this sector of hospitality is just booming in terms of needing personnel. A lot of hotels cut their personnel during COVID. And what has happened is that since the end of last year, those hotels have just needed so much more staff because tourists have started coming in here in Vancouver. The cruise ships have come back. The sector is just exploding in terms of need for personnel because of the number of people that are in it. It's really nice to see when I go to the areas here in Vancouver that have a lot of tourists. I just went to the big mall here, which is the MacArthur Glen outlet, which I know has a big presence in Europe as well. There's tons of tourists finally back coming from all over, which means people to fill those roles are heavily needed in hotels, in the general tourism industry, in the restaurant industry as well. And so the demand is just massive. A lot of times when I go to these places, I just see so many help wanted signs. I take pictures, send it to our co-op department, and our co-op department gets in touch with those people. We're in a place where we have so many employers asking for students that students are having amazing choices in terms of where they want to work, the employers that they want to work with, and so on. And that is a key thing I do really want to advertise there. So business and hospitality brings together both those sectors so that students have the choices for that. Every 2 year program, keep in mind, means 1 year of courses and then 1 year of co-op. So 1 year the students are in the courses, they're able to work part-time. And for 1 year, they can work full-time, paid as an internship in that particular sector. We've got some great partners for this too. One really big partner for us is Coast Hotels. We've been doing really well with that. They've been employing quite a few of our students. Other places that we've sent students to: Vancouver Airport, awesome place to work, as well as some of the signature hotels here, the Fairmont and other such ones. Now, we found that demand in hospitality to be so big that in January we also started our global restaurant diploma. And that diploma concentrates specifically on the restaurant sector. There is such a huge demand specifically to work in restaurants that we started this. And again, it's going quite well. We place students at a number of different restaurants here, and also banquet halls and things like that. That sort of sector where people are doing celebration-based things, conferences. The Vancouver Convention Center is starting to get a lot more people coming in for conventions. That's a big part. So things like that is where our students work for that. This one, again, because the demand is there, people are very happily not just employing the students, but also giving them sponsorships so they can continue with a work visa afterwards. So in this particular sector, our major employers, we have Nando's Chicken, which is a South African joint, so it's quite well known in Africa. But they've started here and there's a huge demand. They employ a lot, as well as Popeye's Chicken, which is a very famous American chain that has just started last year in Canada. So their plan is to open about 200 restaurants all across North America, even during the COVID time. And again, the need for staff is very huge, especially staff in management, middle management, and upwards. And they're employing really, really well, as well as some choice other places that I can talk about in detail later if you need. Now, moving on from the restaurant sector, we go to our digital media and IT part. And here again, we're finding really great demand. Vancouver is the technology center for Canada. We have the heavy levels of IT jobs right here. Half of downtown is all IT companies for us. EA Sports started right here in Vancouver, and specifically in Burnaby, which is one of the several cities that make up Metro Vancouver. And there's a number of other notable places here. And also, whenever a company that has a major global presence wants to start here in Canada, they usually choose Vancouver because this is the technology center. So you'll find the Canadian branches for Microsoft, for IBM, and many other companies right here in Vancouver. So again, the employment there is really, really good. So we have here, you'll find the digital media studies, postgraduate, and also advanced diploma. Digital media studies is basically digital marketing. It's the program that we started with for our IT. We wanted to keep it in the soft IT sector, so students have lots of employment. They don't just work in IT, but they can work really in any office environment, in the marketing sort of sector. And it's been great. We've had student placements all across the board, and it's a really great program. It's also our first program that has a postgraduate option in it. I should let you know, this just happened last week, is we also now have a postgraduate option for our business hospitality program as well. So that just happened. The reason it's not on there is it literally happened on Friday, so I haven't had time to update my my presentation. And again, because we found our digital marketing, digital media programs to be so lucrative, we added to that with an information and communication technology and business program. And that is a diploma that we just started in January, and it has done really, really well as well. So we've just started, because we've just started, we've gotten students into it, but the plan is to again place students specifically in the IT sector with a large scope for it. So it's an IT program that's got a broad scope, so it looks at a little bit of everything. So they look at everything from social media to cybersecurity to server maintenance and everything. So there's a huge scope of where they can go. We've also opened up a lot of certifications with this one. So, if someone wants, they can go and become a Cisco certified server engineer. If they want, they can become a Microsoft certified systems person, things like that. Really help set them up for their future quite nicely. Now, as I said, other than these, we do have one-year programs. And what you'll see if you look at the one-year programs is they're basically one-year versions of the two-year program. So instead of 1 year of courses and 1 year of co-op, we have 6 months of courses and 6 months of co-op in business fundamentals. That's the second one. Information and communication technology, tourism, hospitality, and service. Now, at the very top, I've put a childcare and language assistant program. This is our superstar special program that no other college in Canada has. We've had a lot of students come and join us for this program from places where you can get visas for this program, but also because it's such an incredibly big sector that employs and pays really well, as long as you like working with children, of course. The childcare language program is basically an early childhood education program. So we place students in nurseries, daycares, kindergartens, and also at-home childcare. The main thing about this is that there's just such a big demand here for people. We're placing students very easily. They're working in really great places. They're getting a great salary, and employers are very happily continuing to employ those students afterwards. Similar with the other programs, but just with such a big demand that we started a specific program for this. The great thing also for students is that they not just get a diploma from us, Pacific Link College, but they also get a certificate from the Ministry of Early Childhood Education. So again, employability is really strong with that. And Canada has such a big demand for this that is, as long as you finish this particular program, this 1 year program, and also have a valid job offer, you can get a 3-year work permit here in Canada for this. So that's unbelievable, I know, because there's no other real track for it. And because we're the only ones that provide this 1 year program that leads to something like this, and also with the tuition that we've set in place, this is super unique just to PLC, I'm very happy to say. And it's done really well in the places where students can come for it. Again, those I'll just repeat are places like Turkey in Europe, Thailand, Philippines, Japan and Korea, and also Latin America. So moving on to the important aspect of tuition and also agency fees. So one thing that we really pride ourselves with is affordable tuition. We've made our tuitions vastly more affordable than what is available out there with a lot of our competitors. The reason is, especially during COVID, we wanted to bring things down. We will eventually be taking these tuitions back up to what they should be. But for now, we've kept them really low. And again, it's attracted a lot of students to us. But we've kept our commissions really high. We set our commissions at 25%, but you'll see that it's even higher than 25%, closer to 30% when I tell you what they are. So for 2-year programs, the tuition is regularly 22,000 Canadian dollars. That's not 22,000 per year. It's 22,000 for the whole program. So it's 2 years for $22,000. And keep in mind, in Canada, usually at public colleges, the tuition is about $23,000 per year. So for our whole program, for 2 years, it's less than 1 year at a public college. And that's important when it comes to the pathways and PGWP. I'll tell you in a moment. But for 2022, we've been doing this last year as well, is that we reduced our tuition to 14,900 Canadian dollars, which is super affordable for 2 years. Again, keep in mind it's for 2 years. It's not for 1 year. It's not per year. 2 years is 14,900. And so what the student does is they pay a 7,500 deposit. That's really important for the visa, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. And then the remainder is paid only once they get the visa and they arrive in Canada. Super affordable for the students, and it's been a big attractive factor for them. We also have, as I said, the 1-year programs, and I won't spend too much time on it, but those are basically $14,000, and we have reduced that to just $9,900. The commission from the 2-year programs is a whopping $4,000 out of the 14,900, and again, if you do the calculation, that's close to 30%. We're happy to keep this very high, and I think it's a big attractive factor for agents. And also from the 1-year programs, we've kept the commission at 2,000 with a lot of space for us to increase it, as long as this agent can bring us more students as well. So in terms of our programs, other than what students spend, we also talk about how much students earn. So remember, our thing is work. And as part of work, students will make money, which is really great. In most cases, they'll make more money than they spend, which is a really great attractive point as well. So the minimum student earnings, when the student is working part-time in their job, they will make at least 1,200 Canadian dollars per month, which is really good. It covers rent and things like that, which is important. And when they start the co-op, the paid internship, they'll be making at least $2,500 per month. Remember, this is at least. I always talk about minimum, and our students make usually more. There's some programs especially where they can make a lot more. The early childhood program is a great example. Students make really good money there because there's such a good demand for people to work in those sectors. Now, I also wanted to spend some time on the postgraduate work permit. As I said, as a private college, we don't have it ourselves. We have the most affordable pathway in Canada right now. And we also will be making our other pathways a little bit more affordable as well, especially during COVID and continuing on. So our first pathway that we have is our bachelor's and also master's pathway to Trinity Western University. So Trinity Western University is the largest private university here in Canada. And so we're very happy to offer this. So any student that comes through our business hospitality advanced diploma and our digital media studies postgraduate diploma can go to Trinity Western University and do their bachelor's in arts, in leadership, finish it in just 2 years. Or go to the Masters of Arts in Leadership with a concentration in business, education, or healthcare, or their MBA as well. We found especially the MBA is very popular. A lot of our students from the postgraduate go to the MBA. Now, I'll tell you, obviously, because of the situation here, as I told you, employability is really high. We're not sending a lot of students to the PGWP pathways, simply because if the students get a job, get sponsored, and can continue to work in Canada under sponsorship, why do they need the PGWP? So only about 5% of our students are sent here. But again, they're very happy with this pathway because it allows them to get the postgraduate work permit afterwards. But our most affordable pathway in Canada, really, that we've managed to put together is with Vancouver Community College. And for this one, I'll actually tell you what the price breakdown is as well, because it is so affordable. So any student that comes to us for a business hospitality management diploma can go to Vancouver Community College for a second diploma with them. So with us, they spend 1 year or 2 years in the business hospitality program. They cannot do the co-op if they want and just do it in 1 year, but they do the 2-year program. They go and spend 1 more year with Vancouver Community College and get a diploma in business, in just hospitality management from them. And after those 3 years, because they've gotten that time, they basically get a 3-year postgraduate work permit. As I told you, the full tuition with PLC for the 2 years is $14,900. With Vancouver Community College is $23,000. And if you do the calculation on that, what a student has spent on 2 years to get the PGWP is less than they would have anywhere else, including going directly to Vancouver Community College. This has become our incredibly popular pathway, so popular that students actually switch from other programs to the business hospitality program if they're planning to take a pathway to the PGWP in Canada. So that's how popular it has become. So keep in mind again, we keep these for students who don't get sponsorship or anything like that. But still, like, it's good to have them. We both of our partners are really happy with us. The Trinity Western University one, we're hoping to make that pathway even more affordable than what it is, because it is 2 years of university. And we'll be developing those quite a bit more over the next year. Um, yeah. So, so what I really want to underline in terms of how we do things is providing really solid student support and service. So, as a co-op college, again, the success for us is that students not just study and finish, but to study, get good co-op jobs, and actually graduate with a job that has sponsored them. And I'm very happy to say, again, as I said, is that 95% of our students just continue in their sectors, working in the jobs that they've either gotten at co-op or have found during their co-op time. And because of that, very few students need to do anything such as find a pathway or other modes of employment. One of the great things about Canada too is that there's so many pathways to getting a work permit and eventually the permanent residency. Canada has the most pathways of any country in the world. You can get sponsored by your work directly. There's these pilot programs such as the childcare pilot program that I told you about earlier. There's also provincial programs. For instance, here in BC, we have the provincial nominee program for British Columbia that takes people in. There's community-based sponsorship programs. There's a ton of ways that students find to eventually get a pathway to their PR, which is what makes things so attractive here, I think, as well as the high pay and everything such as that goes with it. So, as well as having a very simple intake system, we also have a very fast intake system, which is something that agents really like with us. So, when you send a application to me, you will get an offer letter within 2 business days. That's one of our guarantees. We make sure that everything is processed quickly and simply and given in that sort of manner. And you will get the acceptance letter within 5 business days. So the student sends the deposit and the acceptance letter is prepared within that time, as long as they sign the contract and everything like that. It's one of our guarantees that helps students get everything ready quickly for the visa. And this happens a lot as students sometimes want to get everything done, within a couple of days before they're applying for the visa. We can always get that done and have that prepared. Again, because of our rolling intake, if a student needs, we can always change the intake date very easily. Someone's starting in May and they go, oh, I don't have enough time for my visa preparation. Can you change it to August? We can do it very quickly as well. And that, again, is something that we found to be very handy. And I'll finally end with the fact that we have a global presence, and we're very happy with that. So we had, as I said, a very heavy presence in South Asia. And one of the aspects of what I do is I've helped us grow so much around the world. So we have a huge presence in West Africa. We actually have one person from PLC that we've developed to just work in Nigeria for us. So that's been super helpful. But also another person who just works for us, he came and visited just now from Senegal, who handles French West Africa for us. As well, students that have come from Morocco, Cote d'Ivoire, from also, as I said, Zambia. We just had them come in. Second student is on our way. Soon Tanzania, Madagascar, and Ethiopia. He just arrived as well. So we have quite a few places at work, and I'm always willing to work with folks from all sorts of places. We have a big concentration on Africa, and very happy to work with agents from there. Across the Middle East and North Africa, we're working as well. So we have a good presence in Lebanon and the Gulf Middle East with a lot of expatriate students. We've actually got students that are Nigerian and other nationalities coming, especially from the UAE and Qatar and places like that as well. As I said, we're pretty big in South Asia. I don't handle South Asia myself because it's so big for us, but I do handle specifically Pakistan. So I have quite a few students that have come from Pakistan. We have a big concentration as well. Our second biggest place that people come from is East Asia, and specifically from Korea and Japan, and a couple students from China as well. And we have a big presence just for Southeast Asia. I should let you know, for East Asia, we have someone who works just on Japan and South Korea, based here in Vancouver. And for Southeast Asia, we have dedicated people in Vietnam, Thailand, and also we have an office in Philippines. I was just there last month. That just do recruitment for us. So again, really big and important place for us, and Latin America as well. We have one person who just recruits in Brazil, and we have one person based in Toronto that's recruits for us for Spanish-speaking Latin America. So, Mexico, Colombia, and other places. So that's our presence. That's why I am always happy to meet more agents and be speaking with you. And that is also the end of my time, exactly on time, actually. So please, I would love to hear any questions and things, please.
Right. Thank you for the great presentation. Look, I think I will ask you not to stop sharing your presentation. I think we will be just using it for the Q&A. And let's go from the beginning of the questions that we have. So the first one is, thanks for the brilliant presentation. Can you please explain what are the installments payment options that are allowed to pay for the tuition fees?
Absolutely. So I'm really glad you asked that, Bang. Installments are very important. So again, it depends on from the different places that people are coming from. For Africa, what we're finding is that the best way for students to do this, again, not just to keep in mind the college, but also for the visa process, is basically for the 2-year programs that the student pays 7,500 deposit, and that shows the seriousness of their intent in coming. Because of visa denials in Africa, I do get questions from students and agents, hey, can we pay less? The simple fact of the matter is, paying less than 7,500, the visa officers give a lot of rejections for that. So 7,500 is the deposit. And once a student gets the visa, we break the remainder into 2 installments that are equal amounts, 3 months and 6 months after the student has started the program. That's the standard that we've set. It makes it quite affordable for them, but also the important thing at the beginning is to pay the 7,500 so that the visa office knows that the student is serious about coming to Canada.
So basically speaking, the installment will be chosen after the conversation with the agency and you, to make basically to make it easier for the student to get the visa, to increase their success rate.
Correct.
No questions asked. Okay.
Exactly. Correct. Exactly. So just as an example, in Nigeria, we take the full tuition before the student even applies for the visa. The reason is we found, as some people know, Nigeria had something like a 90% visa denial rate for students. We have close to 95% acceptance rate. One of the reasons is we moved to taking the full tuition before the student applies for the visa. And we have someone who knows how to work really well with the visa, which includes doing the full tuition. So it totally depends on countries. I've learned a lot about different countries. I learned a lot about Africa. So yeah, Nikolai, as you said, we start with a conversation with the agent and we try to figure out the best process for visa. We really concentrate on making sure the visa process can be successful. Yeah.
Right, thank you. The next one is from Irfan. What about visa ratio for Indian students at your college?
Oh, yeah, glad you asked. For Indian students, again, I don't handle the Indian market, but it's we're one of the most successful colleges in India in terms of visa success rate. We're seeing something like close to like 80, 85% success for our Indian market. We only take students that are willing to go through the student direct stream system, which is a special system for students to go through. It's available for students that are in India, Pakistan, Philippines, Vietnam, China, Senegal, Morocco, and a couple of Latin American countries. So we've set it up so that for India, we only take students that are prepared to go through that. And we found our success to be 80-85%, which is quite nice.
So to be short, dear agents, the installment, the monthly, for example, installment or etc., or any other installment of the tuition fee is basically connected to the visa success rate. So you will be having a conversation with the Pacific Wind College employees, and you will figure out together what will be the best installment that you will need to pay in order to get the visa. It's completely simple and it's very crystal clear. Okay, the next one question we have from Emmanuel is, do you accept Duolingo for English test?
Yes, absolutely we do. We, I'm glad you asked that because we talked about English tests. We take any standardized English test, Duolingo, IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, multiple other tests. Again, once you've signed up as an agent with us, you can simply ask, hey, so like I have this test, do you take it? Very usually we do. If it's a test I've never heard of, I can even look into it and see if we can add it to our list. And worst case, the student just needs to do our free online English test. But yes, we do take Duolingo.
Thank you. The next one is any age restrictions that you might have.
Yeah, for a really good question, because for us as a college, we have 0 age restrictions. What we have found is age is very important for the visa. So for some students, I suggest for students that why even bother applying if it's going to be a very high chance of denial. Age is a big factor, as well as the ability to pay. If you're coming and you're going, hey, I can't even put $1,000, I can't even put $7,500 for the deposit, very high chances of getting denied. There's no point in even trying. Same reason, once you get above 25, it becomes hard. Once you get over 30, really hard. 35, I tell people not even to bother. I'll give you a great example. Had one student apply from Tanzania for our early childhood program. I'm not sure why, but the agent decided to send a 52-year-old woman as an applicant. A 52-year-old woman who was also really overweight and had a lot of other issues. So she actually managed to get to the visa process where they do the medical screening, but she couldn't get the visa because she had extremely high blood pressure. And so she ended up not getting the visa. So in that sense, yeah, we do. I would suggest there's no point in starting with a student who's old and not going to get the visa. Anyone over 25, I would suggest, it's higher risk of rejection.
All right, thank you. The next one is from Ms. Trivedi. What is the prospect of childcare program? What kind of jobs a candidate gets after completing this course? Is co-op available in this course?
Yes, absolutely. There is always co-op available in every single one of our programs, including this one. So this being a 1-year program is basically 6 months of courses and 6 months of co-op. And the sort of jobs that the students get is that they work at nurseries, they work at kindergartens, and especially they work at daycare centers. This one is a very high demand one. And there's also at-home childcare that they do. So there's 4 different places that they work at. And again, the employment here is just through the roof because especially daycares they can never get enough people. And especially now with the end of COVID and people returning to work, the demand that we're seeing for people to work in the sector is just enormous. Yeah.
Thank you on this one. And the next one is, what is about the refund policy in case of visa refusal? How it should be done?
Absolutely. Fantastic question. If a student gets a visa refusal, we give a full refund. We only retain $600, which is our application fee. Everything else is refunded. One of our visa strategies, just so you know, that has worked out really well is we do ask the student to apply for the visa 2 or 3 times, especially for Africa, where denial rates are high for the Canadian visa. The second or third try we found out has been working really well across the board. Now it's up to the student. If they try once, they can apply for a refund very happily. I know, as a student, you get discouraged. If the agent is willing to try 2 or 3 times, is good. We try to make that a little bit better for the student by paying for the second or third application of the visa. So how we do that is that if the student has been denied a second time, we keep even less money in the refund. We only keep $450. So the $150 for the reapplication, we basically release that to the student. And if they've applied 3 times and gotten failed, we only keep $300 and refund $300 extra to the student as well. So we try to make sure that we incentivize the student to apply for the visa again.
And this is not to forget that you have intakes, as you mentioned, very often, almost like every month. So for example, it's almost impossible to miss the admission.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. The next question that we have is from Irfan again. Do you have admission and visa support officer here in India?
Yes, we do. We actually have a team in India. We have one person based in Bangalore and one person based in Punjab. So India is very important to us. It was our first market. So yes, we do have people there. I can connect you to them and they can take it away. They know that market really well.
I think it would be a good idea if you would be able to just type some contact information of those people into the chat, just to be sure that you're writing to everyone, not only to the panelist.
Absolutely. To everyone, yes. So I am putting that in right now. There we go. So that is the contact for our main person there. He's our head of recruitment.
Thank you. The next question is, do you require a test from students who have studied the English as their previous education?
So basically, no, but we do need to examine that. So what we've found specifically for one of our programs. So our programs are all set so that you have to have a standardized English test. The one program that is different is you will see over here our information communication technology and business program. The great thing about that program is we can accept students from backgrounds where English is the primary language in their school. So, the WASC system and things like that, we can accept that, no problem. Even the Filipino system, we can accept that. But this is only for the information communication technology and business program. But for the others, we always need a standardized English test or our English test.
All right, thank you. The next one is from Emmanuel again. What is the visa success rate for Nigerian students? The refund policy we already covered, and do you already have a Nigerian representative?
Yeah, we have one major person who's basically become our representative for Nigeria. He's an agent that's basically become our PLC person because he's been an expert at working with visas. He's so good that I've actually gotten some of my other agents from Ghana, from Ethiopia, and also from even Lebanon working with him because he's so good at working with visas. He's got a great process. He knows how to get the feedback from the immigration IRCC and then use it for the application should they need to apply for the second time. He's an expert. So yes, we do have someone there, and I can connect you if you're from Nigeria to him to work with him. Yeah.
Thank you. The next one is, what are your intake months?
So we have every single month. So from January to December, we have an intake in every single month.
Thank you. Do you have students from Azerbaijan?
We don't. We're really looking to work in Central Asia. I was just at a fair where I met quite a few people from different places across Central Asia, including Azerbaijan, but we don't have any students yet. We would love to talk to you, Farida, in terms of recruiting students from there.
And the next question is also from Farida. What entry requirements do you have? Let's maybe go like by a very short list for 2-year program and 1-year program.
Absolutely. So the entry requirements are basically similar for both. Is we require entry requirements as opposed to like the thing. So entry requirements for 2-year programs is for the postgraduate programs, of course, the students need at least a postgraduate diploma. For the other ones, is just graduation from high school. And for English levels, we want IELTS 6.0 or higher. And that's pretty much it. For the 1-year programs, again, Farida, it's important for you because I know from Central Asia, they can actually get visas for the 1-year programs. Is again, high school graduation, and we only require IELTS 5.5 for those. Yeah.
I would only also suggest from my own experience, do not forget that if you have for your diploma a separate transcript, also take it, because it may happen that it also will be needed. For example, in many countries and many institutions, they have the rules that diploma is not valid without the transcript. So for example, if you finish or your client finished the high school, do not forget to take all of the documents that are issued from the school. Don't think that you will only get the diploma and it's going to be valid. Be sure to check everything twice. The next one is, do you have PhD programs available?
As a career college, we don't have PhD level programs. Yeah.
The next one is from Achutam. Can student apply with self-fund or prepare for the student loan from the bank?
Yes, they can do both. We've got students that are doing the student loan. I actually only found out about this 2 years ago. And also they can do their self-fund. What I've usually seen is the self-fund or sponsorship fund. But yeah, both of those are fine.
Thank you. Isaac, I would ask you to go to the Q&A and look at the question of Mr. Nasir, because it's a big one, and it would be better if you're going to read it by yourself, because it would take for me one time.
Okay. Completed a bachelor's in nursing and master's in public health, also has 10 years experience in nursing, master's in healthcare. She eligible? What about further opportunity? Yeah, so for this particular student, remember it's a master's in leadership with a concentration in healthcare. But yes, she would very much be a great candidate for that. She would probably the best pathway through, the only pathway through is to take our postgraduate program in digital media studies and then go for the master's in leadership with the concentration in healthcare afterwards.
Thank you. The next one, can a student without the English test apply for your programs?
The English test is mandatory in one way or the other. So we need a standardized test for English, or they can do our free English test. If a student doesn't pass, it's not the end of the world. It's free. We can give it 3 times to the student if they want. But if the student is failing, we also have remedial English programs that we provide. We have 1, 2-month, and 4-month programs that we can provide to students. And those are very affordable as well.
Thank you. Basically, the next question is a very good one. I want you to ask it by yourself. Does the school still require IELTS certificate or any other test from English-speaking countries like Ghana? Because I think, it's a very common question because, for example, in Africa, we have bilingual countries that, for example, can have 5 or 6, I would say, official languages. But in those cases, do you require English language proficiency test?
Mhm. Very good question. For especially keeping countries like Ghana in mind, what we do is we just ask the students to do our language proficiency placement. A lot of people, they go like, it's a test, but it's really just like a placement. We just need to know where they're at. So we really don't for really anywhere, but we just need to know what their proficiency at is before we accept them into the program. So our free English language test is the easiest ways to do it. Again, keep in mind for our information and communication technology in business program, we can take people with their WASC or NEC and other different things that come from Ghana, West Africa, from even Kenya and so on, without doing our test. But that's just for our one program.
Thank you. For all of the agencies, I will just add from myself. Guys, for example, as I recall, Zambia or Zimbabwe, they have more like 40 official languages. That doesn't mean that candidate from Ghana speaks all of them. That is why English language test is a must. For example, I also have a couple of friends from Canada, and they, for example, have relatives who only speak French. And as the Canada has 2 official languages, it doesn't mean that everybody speaks 2 of them. That is why it is very common that universities are asking for English proficiency test. But let's move on. The next question is again from Emmanuel. Do you still accept agents in Nigeria? I think you need to elaborate what does it mean to have a representative, because I think that some agencies may understand it as you have like an exclusive agreement and you only work with the only one agency.
So what we have in Nigeria is exactly that. We have an exclusive agreement because he's gotten us like 20 students so far, and he's an expert at working with visas. And that's really the main reason I would say work with our representative there. It's kind of a unique setup that we have. We started working with one agent who said he can do really well in terms of students. He's done super well. None of my other agents have been able to get a successful visa, which shows you how hard it is to get a visa in Nigeria. And that's why I suggest working with him. We're setting it up so that he is basically going to become a PLC staff and just represent PLC in Nigeria. And he's also now based out of Canada now. So that is the specific thing that we have set up for Nigeria.
Thank you. All right, the next one is also from Isaac. I am from Ghana and I have high volumes of students who would want to study and settle in Canada. Where can we start from the beginning? Because from your submission, because from your presentation, you're not having any representatives in Ghana. What would be the first steps to start working with you?
Yeah, so any place that we don't have a representative in, I work with them directly. So I'm the person that works with folks in Ghana. So very simply, just shoot me an email. I'll also put my WhatsApp number on here, which I know people prefer to like just talk over there. And we can just basically get started. We would start by signing the agency contract. I would send you the presentation that I've done so that you understand our programs and also our programs and things like that. And we would just begin from there, simply.
Thank you. The next one is, do you already have a representative here in Nepal?
No, we don't. We have, I've already posted our head of South Asia's email. He's Mr. Roshan. And so you can contact him, and he handles all of our agencies in South Asia. That is India, but also Nepal, Sri Lanka, and also Bangladesh.
Thank you. The next one is there any bridging programs for international students who are in Canada on visitor visa?
Yes, absolutely. We have found these to be very successful. So we have 1, 2 month, and 4 month programs that the students can take, and they can basically bridge into the main program, apply for the study permit. Quite good at doing this. I know how it works, and I'm happy to work with you on that. Yes, we have those.
The next one is, um, how much visa processing in India involves in terms of the fees?
Homer, so simply the visa processing fees is always the same across the board. It's 150 Canadian dollars that is charged by RSCC, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. And that's not unique to India, that's everywhere. And how much more if the students get a refusal? So as I said, what we've done for everything else, the sort of incentives that I've said that we've put in place is for everywhere except for South Asia, because remember, I don't handle South Asia. We have a whole team that handles there. So you can speak with them. The email that I said, roshan@plvan.com. Just get in touch with him, and he'll be able to answer all your questions and kind of walk you through everything.
Thank you on this one. Can you please share the details of West Africa representative?
That's very simple. That is myself. And it's a good opportunity. I am putting my email in here, although I'm sure, Nikolai, you've made it available, and also my WhatsApp number. So you can just contact me on there as well.
Yes, I also pasted the link to the Pacific Green College profile on that platform. So you can use the link and see their profile, and you will see everybody's contact details. So you will be able to contact with them. As easy as that. All right. I will have also a couple of questions from myself. On your presentation, you had information that you have also classes on weekends and classes during the week. What is the main difference between them? Except that this is a weekend and this is the usual working day. Is the program structure different?
No, not at all. So the ones that are on the weekdays, for instance, would be on Thursday, Friday, and there's a half day on Monday always. The one on the weekend simply are Saturday, Sunday, and then the same Monday. The only difference is just the days of the week. If students want, some students actually prefer to work on the weekend, especially if they're working in the restaurant sector. There's a lot more demand, overtime payment, and all kinds of cool stuff that you can access if you're working on the weekend. But a lot of students are working during the weekdays. Simply, that's why we've made that option available.
The next one is, students that travel have problems with accommodation. Do you have accommodation facilities for the students?
Yes, we use homestay. So we have homestay for both the cities that our campuses are in, Burnaby and Surrey. One thing to keep in mind is, because accommodation services are so in demand with so many students arriving since last September, do please try to make sure this is set up through a request to myself with 1 month or more in advance. The more notice we have, the easier it is to place a student. I do sometimes have people surprising me and saying hey, we got the visa, the student is coming tomorrow. And it becomes hard to place a student in that particular time. But yeah, we do have that available.
I will just make a small reminder. Dear agents, please use the Q&A box. It's near the chat, not the chat to ask the questions. Right, the next one is, are you happy to have students from Myanmar if you don't have any so far?
We don't have any students from Myanmar, and we are very, very happy to do so. So Ananda, please do get in touch with me. I'm happy to set up and take things forward.
All right. And the next couple of questions. So you mentioned that you don't have, the list of the programs that just going to have all of the programs, and you're trying to get the programs which are basically based on the job market. So as many jobs from the specific field, the same amount of jobs the same amount of programs you're trying to create in order to meet the demands from the job market. Am I correct on this one?
Correct, exactly. We only start programs where there's a big demand in terms of jobs.
And from your programs, which one would be the most popular one that has the highest demand on the job market?
Really glad you asked there, man. So for 2-year programs, highest demand very simply is business and hospitality. Our business hospitality program is super, super popular. I would say 60% of our students are in that. So very easily, if someone's undecided, I would say put them in there. Really good chances of getting placed, getting sponsored afterwards, all of that. 1-year programs are very, very most popular program by far is the childcare and language assistant program.
And as you mentioned, can you please remind us the employment rules that you were mentioning about this temporary permit for the 3 years when students are getting the job?
Yeah, so when students get sponsorship from their employers, it's usually for 3 years. And it's simply that the employer is willing to support their application to continue to work in Canada. So what that is a labor market impact assessment. When the student applies for a work permit, the employer provides a letter saying that they can't find any Canadian candidates, and that's why they're employing the student. Right now, especially, employers are very happy to provide this because they can't find Canadian candidates. And that's why our students are getting employed so much. But that is the main way. As well as that, through our pathway, the student immediately gets a postgraduate work permit. That's if they're going through one of our pathway programs. And that's the other way in which they get the work permit.
And just as a small reminder, because you were mentioning this, that also after finishing this education, students also get students also have some kind of I would say documents that are backing their experience from the ministry, as you were mentioning. Could you please elaborate more on this one?
So that's specifically for the childcare and language assistant program. Because this is a regulated program by the Ministry of Early Childhood Education, what happens is that just for the childcare and language assistant program, they get a diploma from Pacific Link College, but they also get a certificate from the Ministry of Early Childhood Education that shows that they're an early childhood education assistant. That helps a lot in terms of employability. That certificate is very valuable. Our students have been applying for those in droves, and it's become, that's one of the things that made this program so popular.
And as in terms, for example, if the student works according to their program, so for example, I applied for the childcare and language assistant program, and I got, for example, some kind of part-time job in this sector, will my chances be high that after graduating, I will get the job, for example, in the same employer that I was working during my studies?
Yes, very high, because employers are looking for candidates like anything in this particular sector, especially with parents returning to work after COVID now. There's a huge demand for people to do childcare, both in the home and also in daycares. Daycare is the big one where, you know, after school, the children need somewhere to go. They go to daycares. And because the parents are working again, there's just a huge demand for that. And so especially in daycares and also in at-home childcare, the employment prospects are very high. So if an employer takes you on at a daycare as a part-time or as a co-op student, the chances of them continuing with you are very high, because there is just such a huge need for people to work in the sector. Yeah.
And we have also one question from Bernard. Do you have students from Ghana?
We have so far just one student. One thing I'll say for Ghana is I've seen very high denial rates for the visa. So I've got a couple agents working. I've just started working with 2 agents who are very good with the visas there. So I'm trying to learn a little bit more. Of all the countries I work with, it's got the highest visa denial rate. Nigeria, which used to have the highest, is now one of our best ones. But Ghana has a very high denial rate. What we simply do, and what we're doing, is that we get the student to apply at least 2 or 3 times. and kind of work with that process a little bit. Yeah.
All right. So the next question is, because you mentioned the commission, which is pretty big, I would say, let's be honest. And when it's paid after finishing a certain amount of the studies, or how the process looks like.
Yeah. So because we've already charged the student the deposit, we have that. So what we do is basically when the student joins and finishes a refund period, we pay the half of that uh, commission right away to the agent. Because the student has paid half of their deposit. And once we recover those other two installments, we pay the other half to the agent as well.
And in terms of, you were also mentioning some kind of monthly spendings. And as you say, so if the students will get even a part-time job, they can cover all their spendings in 1 month.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So the reason why this part-time job is so nice is that it can cover a lot of student expenses. So if a student is working part-time and they're making at least $1,200 per month, that very nicely covers your expenses, because your expenses. So for instance, when we put someone in homestay, their homestay is around $1,100 per month. That covers, the stay, but obviously their meals, laundry, and Wi-Fi. So that covers your major expenses. The only thing left is really transport. And we make sure our homestay is always close to the campus, so students can walk, bus there very easily. And yeah, so it covers pretty much everything for your month. Yeah.
I know it's going to be a hard question, but everybody's expenses are different. But if you would try to create a portrait of like average student, what would be like average expenses per month? If you're going to take, for example, the fact that the student is living in the dormitory and only uses like public transport.
Yeah, I've done a rough sketch of it, and basically for an average student, it'll cost about $1,100 per month, which is what our homestay costs. So the reason why students do choose dormitories or they choose to like live with other students is the expenses go down. So like how much they spend on accommodation goes down. The amount that they'll spend on food, uh, that'll go up a little bit, but it won't take over from how much they spend on the accommodation itself. And really after that, it's just like in in Metro Vancouver, one zone transit, bus and train is basically like $100 a month. And as well as that, there's a mandatory insurance from our province, which is $75 per month. So factoring all of that in, it goes to about like $1,000 to $1,100 per month. Yeah.
And as a reminder for the agencies, those salaries that you see on the screen, those are, as you mentioned, minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah. So this is, I would say, the the worst case scenarios that are possible. All right. And in terms of the intakes that you were mentioning, that you have intakes almost every month. In general, if you would say, after the students arrives, for example, for the studies, let's say for the 2 years program, is there, for example, the possibility to change the installments after arriving or not?
Generally, we don't change those after arriving because it's in the contract, but we can always work with it in case of something happens. So I'll give you an example. Is we had a student come from Tanzania, and unfortunately, he got frauded by his agent. And in that particular case, because he had money that had been stolen from him, essentially, and he had less money to pay for things, we worked out a really simple and straightforward installment plan for him. And we were able to make that happen, no problem. Similarly, for students that came from Lebanon, all of a sudden it became really hard to get money out of Lebanon because of the financial crisis there. And so we also worked out a better installment plan for them in that particular case. Yeah. So we work with students depending on the case. All kinds of things happen. And so, yeah.
And do you have any representative in Bangladesh?
So in terms of representative, if you mean agent, we have a couple agents that we are working with. Our head of relations for South Asia, Mr. Roshan, he handles all of them. So again, his contact details are on there, and you can just contact him. So there are a couple of Bangladeshi agents that he does work with. Yes.
Mhm. And another question, will the fees be paid in advance before the visa?
I would suggest at least half of the tuition is paid in advance before the visa. It helps with getting the visa. It shows the student is serious about coming. One of the main things they look at is how much of the fees the student has paid. I hate to say this, but some places in the world they don't care about it. Unfortunately, it's places in the world that are far from Africa. They don't really care about how much the student has paid if they're coming from Japan or Korea or Philippines, it looks like. But unfortunately, in Africa and that region, Middle East too, they look very strenuously as how much the student is paid. At least half of the student fee should be paid. As I said, one of our things that led to us being so successful in Nigeria is that we started getting students through our representative to pay the full student tuition before they applied. Yeah, just so you know.
Thank you. And can you please open again the slide with the prices? And just to remind the agencies that those are not the prices for 1 year of study. So when you see $22,000 Canadian or $14,000 Canadian, this is the total price for the whole program in general. So this is not for 1 year. This basically covers the whole program. And my next question is, would the students have any additional expenses like on the books, any kind of programs, etc., during the studies?
No, I can guarantee that our prices include everything scholastic. So books, administration fees, course materials, everything is covered under this. Anything that they spend on otherwise would be non-scholastic. So it would be things like accommodation, transport, and things like that only. Yeah.
Mhm. And the next question is again from Bernard. Do you have any scholarships or funds for students and what they entails?
Yep. So it's very topical to what we're just talking about right now. So as I'd mentioned, we have reduced our tuitions drastically. So as you mentioned, Nikolai, the 2-year programs, instead of being $22,000 for the 2 years, have been reduced to 14,900, which is a reduction of over $7,000. Which is quite nice. And also our 1-year programs have been reduced from $14,000 to $9,900. Yeah, so it's a big discount for the students.
Yes, and if you would take into consideration that the co-op job can get you from 2,500 Canadian dollars, it basically means that in 1 year you can have all the fees for the 2-year program. As simple as that.
Yeah.
And my next question is that you also mentioned that your institution also provides some certification for the students, like Cisco, for example, or any other. Can you elaborate for the agencies what possibilities they can give basically to the students additionally, from finishing the program?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked that, Nikolai. So for a lot of programs like our business hospitality and also digital media studies program, you get the program diploma and that carries enough weight. But in IT, you'll find that it's a sort of certifications that accumulate that will help you the most. So for information and communication technology and business, that particular program, we open up the possibility for students to go and get various certifications, whether it would be Cisco, Microsoft, IBM, and so on. The more certifications they want to go and get, the more job possibilities are open to them. So for instance, if you're going in for a job where you're doing server maintenance, what usually that job is looking for is a Cisco certified server person. And that is what they're employing. So if the student goes and get those certifications on top of the PLC diploma, it just means a lot better employment for them within that IT industry. So we've opened up quite a few. And in the program in the program summary, you will see that like those certifications are mentioned. It's all optional, so the student can opt to go and get those certifications because they cost more, but they're all available to them as well.
Thank you. And as Isaac already mentioned, for example, some certifications like Cisco, Microsoft, for example, IBM, you will not get to the job unless you have the basically confirmation. And this also opens for you a lot of, and I mean, for your students, it also opens for them a huge amount of possibilities. For example, a lot of banks are using the only Cisco equipment. So for example, if you're a good IT specialist and you want to work at the bank, this is basically the only way that can get you to the bank, not any kind of your colorful diploma, but the certifications that you will be able to get at the Pacific Link College. So this is also to keep in mind. All right, the next, we already have two questions additionally. And the next one is, please state the commission for the agents as I missed the presentation. Can you open this slide, please, with the prices?
So yeah, so just to answer that, Humera, we've kept our commissions extremely high. We say 25%, it was actually closer to 30%. Our commission for our 2-year programs is 4,000 Canadian dollars. And our commission for the 1-year program is $2,000. And we can put that for the 1-year program on a slab structure so that the more students you send, we can increase that tuition really nicely as well.
Thank you on this one. And the next question from Susanna, please, what are the entry inquiries for Ghana students? I don't think they're very special. I think they're as for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And so the entry requirements are pretty similar. For Ghanaians, I suggest just the 2-year programs for visa. And the entry requirements there are the high school graduation for our advanced diplomas and regular diplomas. For postgraduate, obviously a college diploma or higher. And the IELTS level should be 6.0 or equivalent for any standardized language test or passing our PLC entrance test. For our information and communication technology program, we can take the student with just their WAEC or their equivalent English from high school. Yeah.
Thank you. And for example, if the situation happens that after the finishing of the studies, the student doesn't have any work, do you have something like the student career office that's going to help student, for example, to build their CV and to find a job placement?
Yes, absolutely. We have an entire co-op department that just works on this. So we have a person that helps the student develop their CVs, do a practice interviews, and actually sends them to interviews. So we have someone that finds jobs for the students. It's become big enough that we have one person that works on everything else, one person that works on childcare, because these are, it's important to have people for these particular markets. And keep in mind again that we've gotten to the place that we actually, rather than just getting the students into co-op, we try to get them into a part-time job to start. So we can even start the student interview process for the job before they even come to Canada, if they want.
And we still have one question from Humera. Do you have any science-based programs, and what are your 2-year programs?
Yeah, so Humera, we don't have any science-based programs. And it depends on what level of science you're talking about. Information and communication technology is basically computer science. So I don't know if that qualifies. And all of our programs are listed on this particular slide. So 2-year programs are listed here. Basically, they break down into hospitality and IT programs. And our 1-year programs are also listed here: business, hospitality, IT, and of course, childcare.
Thank you. And in terms of those programs like Global Restaurant Diploma, Digital Media Studies Postgraduate Diploma, do most of the time your graduates get the job in Vancouver, or do they, I would say, spread in Canada in general?
I'm actually really glad you asked that, Nikolai, because it opens up another aspect I didn't mention, but I will mention now, is the vast majority of your students get their jobs in Metro Vancouver. we do get students getting jobs all over BC just because, if you're willing to work in a smaller town somewhere in BC, better chances of getting sponsored and also better chances of visa because there's special provisions for people working in small communities. It's another pathway. As I mentioned, there's a lot of pathways to getting the visa here in Canada, more than any country in the world. We've also got students working all over Canada. And the reason is we have the ability to deliver all of our programs 100% online if we want. So what we've kept with that is that when students come to Vancouver, we say come in for live classes in person, and they can still take it online if they want. For instance, if they are busy with work and things like that, we're moving more and more towards completely in person, but we have that possibility. But the other reason we have that possibility is it allows students to work and also study from anywhere in Canada. So we have students in every province in Canada taking their program online, and then they can do their co-op there in the particular province that they're in. From Alberta all the way to Ontario, we have students all across the board. Yeah.
And as for the time permit, as for the working permit, does it take a long time to do one after a graduation? If the student has completed everything, got the job, how much basically time does it involve to have the permit, and what it also requires in terms of the fees?
So in terms of the work permit, it's very fast processing because it's within Canada. And so as long as the student has an employer that's willing to do the LMIA for them, within like a month, they get the work permit. I actually helped a student apply and he got it very, very quickly. At the height of COVID, it took 2.5 months, but now they've shortened it to about like a month, which is really nice. Yeah.
So in some cases, the university is also willing to help in terms to apply for the permit if something is unclear.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, what I've done is that for these sort of things, I try to do this at least once in a while with a student so that my memory is kept fresh of the process and everything like that. In a lot of cases, though, the best thing to do, I mean, the great thing about Canada is they've made everything online applications that you can do yourself. If you absolutely need, it's good to get an ICCRC licensed representative to help you once you come to Canada. I have references to some great people that offer special discounts and everything like that. And of course, in the cases that students do really need the help, I sit with them and work with them on those things as well.
Right. Look, I think it was like for sure one of the, I would say, most informative presentations that we had in the last half a year, without any kind of doubt. And look, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, because this was really informative, and we had, I would say, in general, more than 50 questions. So it's like really great. And thank you for your time again, because this is basically the kind of the level that that we want to maintain at Net24 in terms of the presentations. And your contacts were shared a couple times in terms of your account at Net24. I will paste them now. So dear agencies, the Pacific One College at Net24 is completed. You can find them by this link that I just pasted into the chat. You can add them to the friends. You could message him. Sorry, you can message them. Mr. Isak contact details are also in the chat. Just give me a second. Also, don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have. You will get all the answers that you need. And just a reminder for everybody who was present that this recording will be shared in the end of this month to all the attendees, and you will be able to take a look at it again. So no worries about that. And for Isaac, I'm really just very thankful, and I'm really appreciate that you wake up in the middle of the night to conduct the presentation for a lot of people who attended it from different countries.
Absolutely. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much for setting this up, Nikolai. It was nice to meet all of you, and I really hope to be working with all of you in the near future. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Have a good sleep today.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, guys.
Okay, so everybody, thank you for joining us. All of the questions that you will have, you can ask us via email. You know our email, we have the agent team, Wojtek and Nijat. The next webinar that we're going to have will be on 26th of May, the same time as today. It will be study in the USA. So again, we are all waiting for you to see you there. And for today's webinar, as was already mentioned, we will be now doing it in another way, that every month you will be all receiving the email, which will include all of the webinars that has been conducted during a certain month. So for example, in the end of May, you will receive the email which will contain the links to all of the recordings that we had in May. So you will have access to them all of the time. And thank you again for the comment. And it was really good to see you all, and to answer all of your questions. And it's really a pleasure to work with such professionals as you are. Thank you again, guys. Stay well, and I hope you're going to be doing really well till 26, because on 26 we'll be having the last educator presentation in May. And I'm just really, I'm very excited to see you all there. And thank you so much, everybody. Take care.